So I want to play a little bit with elbows as opposed to hands. So think more about connecting through the elbow. When you come up, forearm drive through the elbow and then cut. One, two. Okay? Right. And then here, working with the hands and taking it to the elbow. Just a little bit. Yeah, so it's that feeling of it doesn't have to be aggressive. So very light. Where I can slip over. And then when I cut, see how my arms are rotating together? Yeah. Here. Then this hand guards me. Yeah. Right? Now when I cut, you do it slowly. But I don't want to cut, like this is what we're used to, cutting there, right? We do a lot of stuff. We do a reminage that way, we throw it kind of straight on. And I don't really like it that much. I prefer cutting the balance. So here I like better. Now it requires the ukemi to be a little different, not necessarily harder. Because if we go slow, she can still take this ukemi, she just steps around my arm. Yeah, just take it. Yeah. So there's no need to take aggressive ukemi when I cut the legs out. Yeah. Right? It all depends on how you work with your partner. Right? You can if you want. You can cut the legs out and they have to take a break fall, that's fine. Yeah. But obviously if you can't. If I turn and I'm not cutting your legs out, something went wrong. I let it too far away. Maybe it was too much like the elbow is kind of our gauge for the mind here. The elbow tells us how far to be. Normally we're kind of used to working from the wrist. Now we're coming more to the elbow. Sometimes when you go to the shoulder, right? It's even more certain. Right how we go. And as I cut, I'm not cutting there. I'm here. It's just a nice little back stretch. Super back stretch. So let's keep working on this opening, and let's try to, now we're going to bring the arms up. But the tendency when we bring the arms up generally is to do this. So let's keep the hips down as we bring the arms over. Okay. Okay. So now, before we went under the arm, now we'll go over. And just come a little bit further in, underneath, and into our so same opening, but now the hand comes up top, here, so this is the movement we're doing, here, draw back, as if kaitanage, and then don't just push it down, cut on the angle. Hey, go ahead. Yeah, they're kind of short. When try not to do, because right now I mean, if he straightens out, I'm not really in control here. So don't rush to the technique. First get position here. From here, I can do all kinds of things, right? I can take his leg out, I can do all kinds of things because I'm in a better position. And I've contracted, so I have a place to expand to. If I'm already expanded here, the only thing I can do is contract. And I've limited myself maybe to something else, right? But the whole idea is kind of maximize your options. If I limit myself by expanding too early, I don't have enough to do, you know? So really focus on the contraction, then expand. All right. This is if your uke is, you know, heavily muscular. Tree trunk. So when you get down to this position here at 6 o'clock, to get him back up, this is a curl, and it can be really strenuous, especially if you're smaller. So instead of trying to lift it, just drop you and turn. That way, it's just working with your skeleton rather than trying to curl. It's really that. It's always pressure into your nugget. I mean, the worst thing you can do taking ukemi, especially at higher speeds, is break connection and have any distance between you and your nugget. Because, I mean, if you think about it, this is where all that power is going to hit you the hardest. Bang. It's going to feel like the end of the baseball. Here is where it's limited, and it's just body weight. So if he throws me from here, I can take that fall pretty much however I want, but it's because I'm connected through it. Now, as I do that, again, if I break that connection and try to take this fall, it's way heavier. It feels like garbage. So it's much better, I mean, just hip into it, relax, hip into it. Imagine you're doing just a crunch with your stomach, so just engage your core, and then he just throws it, and I just leave this arm connected, right? And then your goal is to just, your hakama. So, well, I'm not there yet, but we'll get there. Boom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to roll that. Same opening. This hand comes on top now. We just did this one. Now this one. Reach over, roll it back. Okay? Roll it. That usually requires it. Play with that. Shaper Sensei special. Okay. Unless I want to do the hinage or shinage, like I'm kind of locked here, right? Unless I mean, maybe there's like one or two other options, but this becomes very limiting. Instead, start here, covered. In case he spins around and tries to hit me with that hand, I want to have his hand up. Then transition. Don't do what I just did with that shinage. So don't do this. So keep it in front and throw that, okay? But there's a delicate balance that you want to strike when you're taking ukemi when you're training between helping your nage and just being a jerk, right? Because we've all had that experience, right? We've all had that experience working with somebody, and so I'll attack. You had that experience where they do this, right? There you go. Oh, I must have done something wrong. No, you just knew it was coming, so you knew where to lock down, right? No, but what's helpful is, for example, if he lets the arms go behind him on the shionage when he does it, right? So go for shionage, but the arms go behind your head. So here, right, and he goes to throw. I'm not trying to reverse him here, yeah. So I just break away, because there's no control. And it's actually dangerous if you're an uke to take ukemi for bad technique. Because your body's not going to take the right ukemi and it's easier to get injured. So it's that fine line you want to tread between not being a jerk, but at the same time, for me, 90% of ukemi is keeping myself healthy and safe. The other 10% is reversing, right? Is kaishiwaza. But otherwise, it's all about staying safe. So if I'm taking ukemi, and I don't feel safe at any point, like right here, if I don't feel safe, I'm just going to say, let's start again. No problem. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Not every technique has to be perfect, right? But I have to not get injured. So if I feel unsafe at any point, because the technique doesn't feel right, I'm going to break it. That's my job as an uke. Nage's job is not generally to make sure that you're safe in every part of the technique unless you're a beginner. They can't, because they need to focus on doing the technique, right? So if he's doing the technique, his job is not to focus on my safety, other than make sure he doesn't throw me in the zone. So now he throws. That was my job, to stay safe. His job is to throw. But if at any point I feel unsafe, I don't lock down on him. That's the jerk thing to do. I simply, as he goes to do it, I just break away. I just break off. And re-engage. Don't break off and just kind of walk away. You break off and go, okay, let's try that again. Sorry, just didn't feel good, right? Because then you get to play another day. But when you have that mentality of like, no, he'll figure it out. He'll figure it out at the expense of your shoulder or your knee, you know? You don't want. So when you're doing this, just make sure here, giving an example on Shihonage. When I go to do the Shihonage, my job is to keep this hand in front of me. If his flexibility won't allow this hand to stay in front of me, like let's say he's so super tight in the shoulder, I don't give up on it. I work around it. I work around his flexibility. But I don't give up on the technique. Like I don't feel like he's too tight. And so what I do is I just give it to him so that we can finish. That's bad. It's bad technique on my part. And it's not my job to keep his shoulder safe. It's his job to keep his shoulder safe. My job is to do the technique correctly. So if I'm going here, and I feel tension here, like his shoulder's not giving in, one option is to just sneak out as I do it so I can keep my eye on it without overturning his shoulder, right? But that's not about keeping him safe, it's about doing the technique with his shoulder being stiff. So it's a fine line, right? You don't want to be a jerk, but at the same time as an uke, you want to stay safe. And then as a nage, you want to do a throw correctly. Don't compromise your technique because your uke's flexibility doesn't allow for it. Work around that, you know? I like to say that 99.9% of everything I do is Sigo Sensei. I mean, there's just no way around it, you know? Like, we all love him so much, you know? And the other 0.1% is, you know, the things that I try to generally don't work. So there's something to it. And a lot of what we do are what Sigo Sensei used to call bridge technique. Crossing what we do with bulkheads with what we do empty-handed as a teaching tool. So one way to look at this opening is almost like a way to draw. So I cover here as I reach, and then from here it just depends on how I want to draw in order to cut, right? And I picked this one so I won't hit it. If you remember, there were days in Sigo Sensei say, make sure you have your wakizashi. You get really angry. People forgot them. I live here, I don't know. How do I have one? All right, so think of it this way. One, right? And now we're doing the reach for the kokyuho this way, right? But you could come underneath, right? You could come underneath here to cut. All this stuff exists, but it starts from that position of cover and reach to draw. And start with the elbows. Bang. Okay, so let's go into ukemi. Let's see, ukemi kokyuho. Go ahead. From here. If he's still straight up and down, right? If the entry didn't kind of take him off balance, you can reach a little bit, pull him to one side, and then take this arm, come through. But the feeling I like with the kokyuho itself is not this. This is what we're kind of used to, right? Where you have lots of room to fall here. It's all very congenial. I want him to have a very uncomfortable time with his ukemi, which means this leg needs to go back there, like that. So I need to really make sure I'm on balance. All right, as I step through. But that's the entry I want, is here, here. That entry, as opposed to here. Okay? But right, you could think of it as a teaching tool, and so you're not practicing with any level of kind of ethics or honesty. But I always try to think honestly about what I'm doing. So if I move on top, my assumption has to be that as he sees me come off the line, he's going to redirect and hit me. So this arm is a parry to guard against that, right? That's all that is. That's all this arm is for. And then from here, I can go on top, underneath, whatever I need. But as I do that, I'm going to move behind him. See how I drop the shoulder here? Then I move through. All right? That's the feeling I want to create. But don't rush to the technique, because if I rush to the technique here, I really have to bank on my speed to avoid this punch. And assume that he's not going to track me, right? Which is just bad martial arts. Always assume that they're going to track you. And always try to practice that way. It doesn't have to be hard or strong. It doesn't have to be trying to hurt me. He could go even slower than that. And still, if I move, he should be tracking. But it doesn't hurt. That way, when I'm moving, also I feel more tension built here because he tracked, because he tried to follow. And it actually makes the Aikido better and feel better. You know? If you don't notice that, the more pressure and tension is built in a technique to a point, the better the Aikido tends to feel. When it's very light and there's nothing there, it doesn't feel like anything. It feels like we're just dancing. You know? And there's nothing like, if I do Shionage from here, this is not satisfying. This feels like he's just kind of giving it to me. But if we go here, and I really earned it, because he put pressure, it feels real. Right? But always err on the side of clean opening, then transition to what you want to do next, rather than kind of, this is what tends to happen sometimes is, we think Shihonage, so we do this, right? But now I'm screwed if I want to do something else. Unless I want to do either Kiminage or Shihonage, like I'm kind of locked here, right? Unless I mean there's like one or two other options. But this becomes very limiting. Instead, start here, cover. In case he spins around and tries to hit me with that hand. I want to have this hand up. Then transition. Don't do what I just did with the Shihonage. So, don't do this. Keep it in front. There's a delicate balance that you want to strike when you're taking your kami when you're training between helping your nage and just being a jerk. Right? Because we've all had that experience, right? We've all had that experience working with somebody, and so I'll attack. You had that experience where they do this, right? There you go. Oh, I must have done something wrong. No, you just knew it was coming, so you knew where to lock down. No, but what's helpful is, for example, if he lets the arms go behind him on the Shihonage when he does it, right? So go for Shihonage, but the arms go behind your head. So here, right, and he goes to throw. Go ahead and throw. I'm not trying to reverse him here, just, yeah. So I just break away, because there's no control. And it's actually dangerous, if you're a nuke, to take ukemi for bad technique. Because your body's not going to take the right ukemi, and it's easier to get injured. So it's that fine line you want to tread between not being a jerk, but at the same time, for me, 90% of ukemi is keeping myself healthy and safe. The other 10% is reversing, right? It's kaishiwaza. But otherwise, it's all about staying safe. So if I'm taking ukemi and I don't feel safe at any point, like right here, if I don't feel safe, I'm just going to say, let's start again. No problem. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Not every technique has to be perfect, right? But I have to not get injured. So if I feel unsafe at any point, because the technique doesn't feel right, I'm going to break it. That's my job as a nuke. Nage's job is not generally to make sure that you're safe in every part of the technique, unless you're a beginner. They can't, because they need to focus on doing the technique, right? So if he's doing the technique, his job is not to focus on my safety, other than making sure he doesn't throw me into someone. So now he throws. That was my job, to stay safe. His job was to throw. But if at any point I feel unsafe, I don't lock down on him. That's the jerk thing to do. I simply, as he goes to do it, I just break away. I just break off. And re-engage. Don't break off and just kind of walk away. You break off and go, okay, let's try that again. Sorry. Just didn't feel good. Right? Because then you get to play another day. But when you have that mentality of like, no, he'll figure it out. He'll figure it out at the expense of your shoulder or your knee, you know. You don't want to. So when you're doing this, just make sure here, give you an example on shihonage. When I go to do the shihonage, my job is to keep this hand in front of me. If his flexibility won't allow this hand to stay in front of me, like let's say he's super tight in the shoulder, I don't give up on it. I work around it. I work around his flexibility. But I don't give up on the technique. Like I don't feel like he's too tight. And so what I do is I just give it to him so that we can finish. That's bad. It's bad technique on my part. And it's not my job to keep his shoulder safe. It's his job to keep his shoulder safe. My job is to do the technique correctly. So if I'm going here, and I feel tension here, like his shoulder's not giving in, one option is to just sneak out as I do it so I can keep my eye on it without overturning his shoulder. Right? But that's not about keeping him safe, it's about doing the technique with his shoulder being stiff. So it's a fine line. Right? You don't want to be a jerk, but at the same time as a nuke, you want to stay safe. And then as a nage, you want to do a throw correctly. Don't compromise your technique because your uke's flexibility doesn't allow for it. Work around that. You know? If that makes sense. Another minute. So, I'm going to take it down from the strike back to the Gyakuhami Kata Datori. Now, this is a personal choice. So if you like this, fine. If you don't, or your teacher tells you not to do it, whether it's Moro Datori or Kata Datori, I don't like offering my wrist down. I don't like doing this. Because as much as he would grab here, because we're doing Aikido, on some level, I feel like he's going to do this instead. Because my arm is down. Why would he not just hit me in the face? So I always offer up, and then I draw back to this position. Okay? So exaggerated, like that. And now we're going to do the same motion from Kata Datori. Getting here. Okay? And then from here we're going to go to a Ryunaga. You see the elbow. Bang. Back. Finish up from Kata. Again, turning here. Don't turn this way, right? Different. This way. Just like you've been doing. So up here, down, turn, behind, turn. So now we're going to practice covering not just on the nage side, right, as we enter we cover, but now as uke, as soon as this releases, he's got to know my hand's close, so he covers too. So I move into Ikyura. Doesn't matter where he grabs. Whether it's my elbow, my wrist, or it doesn't matter. But how we want to start engaging ourselves as ukes, covering it. That way he understands. That's that fine line between being a jerk and also helping. Right? We don't want to be a jerk. So now he covers. There it is. That was something in between. One thing about covering, always leave space between your hand and your head. And not just a little bit. If he puts his hand against his face, put your hand against your face, right? I'm just hitting him in the head with a quarter inch of padding in between, right? So a little bit of space here, bang. Enough so that when I hit, that spring has give that doesn't hit him in the head. And then from here, yeah. So let's try that again. Boom. And now from here, keep him off balance, just as he normally would. That's the part that's important. Covering correctly, yeah, so there's give. So whether he covers here at the elbow or here at the forearm, it doesn't really matter because I'm moving through into the Ikiura. Okay? Bye. But it's not there, right? Like that? You don't have to be a jerk and strong on it, right? Or try to reverse it. Unless you're having fun, it's fine. But if you're actually trying to help, the best thing to do is just, you don't got me. Let's try it again. Let's do it again. Right? It's not a jerk thing. The jerk thing to do would be to do this. No. You ain't got me. Okay? No. The best thing to do is just break it up and just start again. Because you have your balance. It's not right. It's not what. Okay? Because otherwise you're not going to learn the wrong thing. They think that that's you. You know? Right, it's just not honest. It doesn't matter. It's the honesty in the training itself. Grab it. That was... So, yeah, see, I had a point now.
The snap.
Everybody talking about stuff. Alright, so as we move, one thing I wanted to stress is this movement is supposed to be a snap movement. It's not a kind of ginger. So, alright. The other thing that I wanted to stress was on the hand, on the blocking hand here. If when she blocks, she's already off balance, I can enter and do my ikkyo that way. If she's not off balance, in other words, she's early enough that now she has her balance and we're just kind of kikiwaken, like we're just kind of balanced here, balanced engagement. The last thing I want to do is fight here. In fact, one thing Sugihara-sensei really focuses on with his, if you notice his ikkyo ura from like Shomanuchi, for example, you ever seen this? Right, this is the way I learned ikkyo ura. Right? That's the way I learned ikkyo ura. You know how Sugihara-sensei does it? You ever seen that? Right? Why? Because the power is all coming this way. Why would you fight that and try to reorient, right? So it's the same here. When we get here, if she's on balance, it doesn't make sense for me to fight that. Right? Even though I'm bigger and I probably could, there's no need. She's built all this pressure here. She's strong. I'm just going to work with it. Now, if I'm early enough and I take her balance, that's another story. Right? But if she's strong in her position here, I'm going to have to take that Ushiro movement. Right? Here. Here. Okay. Alright, go ahead. So there's a whole bunch of ways to do this one. Pick the one you like the most. We're just kind of cooling down a little bit. I was doing it one way for years, and I got shown another way to do it. And then Peter Sensei yelled at me for doing it another way. So there's like a whole bunch, right? My favorite one now is actually the one that Peter Sensei does, which is I actually load him up by extending through my elbows. So he's actually up here. He should be. And then I turn to one side, as opposed to pushing out from the beginning, as opposed to doing this, right? It's kind of the one we're used to doing maybe. We actually bring him in, but through the elbows. So don't just pull them on top of you. Drive through your elbows. And through. Okay? Okay, those out. Through your right elbow. Down. Here. Okay. So drive it through the first, Sensei Sheila and Jeff, thank you so much for having me. That was such a fun time. Really enjoyed that. Thank you for putting this whole thing together. Having done a number of these in Florida, it's a taxing thing, you know, to put together a seminar. It really is, you know, because you think about it. I mean, it's a real blessing to be here where you've got so many dojos, but still, you know, to fill a space and to get a space ready and make sure that everybody's having a good time. You know, you don't think about how much work goes into it, especially when you don't have somebody like living in the dojo for you. Stuffing envelopes. I digress.
Don't forget the stamps.
My point is, enough of the flash guys. So, no, but seriously, I mean, you know, I think in general it's important at events like this to, of course, recognize that, I mean, all of us are, you know, going back to Single Sensei a whole lot. You know, I mean, we have the same picture up on our kami-san, and, you know, it's really a blessing to have had him as a teacher and to see that, you know, his students are continuing that tradition of training, you know, honest training. And also, of course, my seniors. However many of you are here. There's a whole bunch. Thank you guys so much for coming. It means a lot, you know. To be able to train with your senpai is obviously ideal, and to come take a seminar with somebody who came up after you is a really meaningful thing. It leaves an impression, so I appreciate that very, very much. If you would like, you're very much welcome in October, since Sheila and Jeff are going to come teach our fall seminar. We're going to take a break.
So if after we maybe we take a group photo. So please stay.
Some of you guys can stay for
Take a picture. That would be wonderful. Or just to clap and cheer.
Don't forget we have papakas and we have adult juice as well.
Special adult juice. So hang out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Good photo, please.
Okay.